Welcome to TradersPost office hours for June 3rd, 2025. I'm one of your hosts, Tom Hartman, market manager here at TradersPost, alongside Mike Christensen, co-founder and CSO, and John Wage, founder and CEO. We're always working to make TradersPost better day in and day out. Each week, we take a deep dive into all things TradersPost, answering your questions, gathering your feedback, and helping you get the most out of the best automated trading platform in the universe. The best automated trading platform in the universe.
It's more echoey and more reverby this time. I love it.
Today, look, guys, it's been a great week, not just because on Poly Market, I did find what I believe is an outsized bet towards Bitcoin going up to $150,000 on June 3rd. But let's save that for after hours on Friday to see if that's going to start paying off. In the interim, the big news is Project X, guys. Project X is in beta now on the TradersPost platform. John, was it fun putting this together?
Yeah, it was not too difficult. I think it was like 3 weeks from start to finish. It's really cool if the API is documented well, works the way you expect it to. We can really integrate brokers really fast. There are still a few quirks and things missing, but we'll keep kind of pressuring the Project X team to add some of the things that are missing. But it works pretty well so far.
All right, so I want to contrast this with just first of all, the number of requests that came in for people who wanted to integrate with Project X. Is that just like a byproduct of like that it came out when TradersPost was around, or like is this normal for people to want like just be such a fervor to have this added to their account, or is it because it's like connecting to prop firms? Because we had like 50.
Sorry about that. I forgot I was muted. I do think it's the prop firm access more than anything. Many of these prop firms didn't have Tradovate as their backbone for how the firm actually operated. So using Project X is effectively the API rails that is similar to how Tradovate works. It seems like maybe 8 or 9 of them on the list that we had added didn't use Tradovate in tandem, right? I think there was only overlap with a couple of these firms. Topstep uses Tradovate, and I think Blue Sky uses Tradovate as well. But a majority of these others on the list, they didn't have anything like this until Project X came along. So it's definitely prop firm access, which seems to be part of the demand.
People are super excited, and I contrast that with just every week people being upset with IBKR. And the integration there, and all the explanation that we have to provide, especially John on Discord, going back and forth with the platform. John, you had someone commiserating with you recently. I think they had tried their own integration with IBKR, and they're like, "Yeah, this is like a horrible thing to be with." But hopefully, things will be better in the future.
Yeah, I've said it on stream before, but just for comparison's sake, it took 2 years to get IBKR live. It took 3 weeks to do Project X.
Right.
So if that tells you anything, like the quality of interactive brokers is pretty terrible. Project X, I think, is started off well. It's really early, and like I said, there's some stuff missing that we have on the documentation page for Project X. Like there's no market data, market orders don't tell you the price that the market order filled at. So there are some limitations. No P&L, but it's functional from an order submission perspective. The UI and UX just need some improvement still.
Awesome. Well, we got upgraded. We're now anime nerds will know us as Super Saiyan 2. That's a Dragon Ball reference. It's a jujitsu if you like Naruto. We'll throw in your Sailor Moon transformation, whatever works for you.
I don't know what any of those things are. Just FYI.
You just launched into a completely different language for me.
It's because you guys are not cool. That's the problem. You guys are not cool. You guys don't know Sailor Moon? Come on.
It's because I go outside.
That's what it is.
Shade! Oh my God!
For the uninitiated, we tend to give Tom a hard time because he doesn't like to go outside at all. So
I hate it. Doesn't like it. That's not good enough. I hate it. All right. Well, at the end of the stream, we're actually going to go over a little bit more about Project X, because I'm very interested, Mike, in your sort of like journey here as you are using prop firms. I mean, essentially, you're a power user of prop firms, and you've gotten a one-on-one lesson on how our users are actually using using prop firms, especially multiple prop firms, and then using TradersPost in order to integrate it all. So I think that's pretty fun. But before we get there, I just wanted to touch on something. We got actually a few questions in over the last couple of weeks, and I figured, hey, I might as well touch on this. And this is the idea of the stock screener on TradingView. I am not sure people are aware that there's a new version of the stock screener. Did you guys know that this, like, a new version came out, that they rolled out a new version?
Yeah, I saw the update on their new screener, which is now effectively in the side panel instead of the bottom panel, which was a little confusing at first.
Yeah, it's confusing at first, but also what happens here is that there's some extra features. So, and I'm not sure people notice. I even got messages for people privately who are asking about this, that they don't know. So the big pain point with the stock screener before was that you can just screen items, listings for assets, and the best you can really do is to add them to a watch list, and then you're basically filtering for market capitalization, number of employees, revenue, blah blah blah, and you could surface some stocks that way. But now you can actually have like a limited filtering based on RSI, volume, momentum, and stuff like that within the stock screener, so that when you're inside of the panel, you can click on the plus sign and then add something like an SMA. Have a simple moving average. Say I went to 50 on the 1 day, and then you can filter. You can filter assets according to some metrics. Now, I don't know what the full list of metrics are. I found it to be like I had to actually look to see what they were. Stuff like has it gapped up on the open? Does it have what's the margin to leverage ratio for the ticker? All kinds of different things like that. But you can actually use some indicator knowledge here. RSI. So if you're like, hey, I want to get all the assets that are oversold on the weekly, well, you can do that here, where you couldn't do that before. And what's cool about that is that you can then apply an alert to or you could filter for your assets from your watch list, and you can add these to your watch list. So when you compare that, when you add that with the idea that you can add alerts now to an entire watch list, you can really make your day trading or your weekly trading a lot more flexible, where you don't have to do a bunch of research on the side in order to figure out what stocks you want to follow. You can do a lot more of that within TradingView. So I just wanted to bring that up because I was surprised that I kept running into people who had no idea that version 2 of the stock screener was out and that had extra features.
That's definitely pretty interesting. I know that they had experimented with alerts on the screener in the past, and then they took it away, and then they brought it back, and then they took it away again. So knowing that the new version includes some technical columns to the whole screener and the ability to add an alert to it is very interesting. It sounds very similar to the watch list alerts you're able to create. So I assume you're limited at your account level for how many alerts you can create on the screener. Does that sound right?
Yeah, well, the idea is that you're screening it, and then you're adding those items to your own watch list. So then you fall within the same limitations as normal. I think it's like 400 for premium, 50 for pro, something like that. So you're not actually assigning the alerts in the watch list, but you can generate a watch list for that day, that week, that month way easier than you could before.
Okay.
Which I find pretty interesting. All right. So we wanted to bring that up. Next up, so we only have a few questions for this week, which is great. I wanted to bring up something that's more from my perspective, and that is I'm very interested in getting, this is an open question for you guys, I'm very interested in getting the usage statistics of using the JSON builder within our backend versus what we're seeing in support, where people are trying to use our AI in order to build our support AI in order to build out their JSON message. I'm wondering, are you guys noticing that more people are doing that in support than they are using the tool in the backend?
I feel like Probably more people seem to be using support to ask how the JSON message should be made, because our AI seems to do a pretty good job of giving them the correct answer. However, it's not always accurate. Sometimes it will give you properties that don't actually exist and aren't in our documentation, and we're continuing to try to improve that. So I would take the AI responses with a grain of salt, knowing that it occasionally hallucinates. The other problem is, I don't think that many people know they can build the JSON from our backend. So we still just need to kind of socialize that process and make sure people are aware that it's easy to build it. I recently had an idea for us to create an improvement to our product on something I would call the create a JSON signal panel, which would live inside the strategy, and it would allow you to basically build your entry, build your your long signal, your short signal, your exit signal, and you could save those in your account within that strategy. And then that JSON is always easy to copy at that point. But essentially, it builds from your strategy settings, it builds from what asset class you're trading, and so on and so forth. And that makes it a much easier to manage. In the meantime, the submit signal feature is definitely the best way to build the JSON, knowing full and well that you're going to get the correct JSON from our system. And then, trusting in the AI is another option, but you just need to really test it and make sure that the response you get from our AI matches our documentation. I went through, I don't know, I guess Trevor was on vacation, so I spent about 4 days in support, helping everybody I could. I think I went through 50 or 60 support tickets. And the ones that had to do with JSON were usually me just trying to correct the issues with AI. Like, nope, that's not correct. That's not how a trailing stop works, or whatever.
Yes.
So just be careful with AI responses.
Should we maybe update the AI bot to not generate JSON and send them to the build a signal form?
I thought about that, but I think it would be better for us to continue to work on improving the AI response, because it is very useful to have that conversation from that perspective. I think we just need to keep working on the content that it relies on to confirm that it's doing things correctly. I was in touch with Intercom's team about the model and how it was hallucinating, and they said that they were investigating. So I'll just need to go back and put some pressure on them with our use cases of where it's falling apart.
Also, people are like testing it anyway, right? So they copy the JSON, they test it out, and then they retool from there.
That is true. And that's the best thing to do. Test it in a paper account, make sure that it's actually going to work. And then I did make another, item on our roadmap to also highlight when certain properties are sent that we ignore, so we can kind of gray them out. So you're aware that, like, if I send trailing stop with an underscore, that's going to be ignored by our system, because that's not the way it's supposed to work.
Sorry. And then the third thing was that this came in again a few times. I think, John, you saw this on Discord again, this idea of being able to flatten all open positions at a certain time. I'm bringing this up because as a feature request, because some people asked for it, but I've actually seen more of that over the last couple of weeks than I had for months before that. So more people want that. I'm assuming it has to do with the whole prop firm, explosion of interest in prop firms, because oftentimes in those situations you do want to be able to do that, or you have to do that and get out of all your positions at the close of day. So just putting that out there. As far as one thing here, there was a question on our canny.io board. A feature request came in for open position portfolio percentage. So Riley Brooker was asking, show each open position size as a percentage weight of portfolio within broker dashboard. View left hand side. I will not have to log into my broker once this is implemented. High value, low hanging fruit.
Yeah, and we have this today, but you have to click each position to see it. So we'd have to figure out how to kind of restyle that positions list so that we can show the weighting. We call it on the positions page, I think it's called portfolio diversity.
Perfect. And for anyone who's interested, if you go to traderspost.canny.io, you can go ahead and vote and comment on features that that you might like to have as well, because often when or almost always when people send in a message through our support system and it is a feature request and tagged as that, it'll show up here. So if you want to go here, put your 2 cents in, vote for things. Obviously, we take a look at things that have a lot of traction to it, and it makes it far more likely that we can get to them. Obviously, it depends on the nature of what's being asked, but there you go.
We also have, it's a feedback.traderspost.io, which goes to Canny.
I see. All right. Starting with the first question for this week. Someone was asking, I am using a TradingView indicator with a feature called Fake Trend Detector, which does the following. Fake trend detection closes all positions and prevents opening new ones when the trend is no longer identifiable. Is this feature supported in your system? If so, how can I activate this feature using your system? Note that this feature is different from taking profit. So this is where we don't have a feature like this within our platform. This idea that this alert will fire and close all open positions. That's why I brought this up as one of those example feature requests. This one was particularly interesting because it came in packaged as an existing indicator that exists on TradingView. But this idea that people want to be able to close a bunch of positions all at once. For this user, since they were able to, they knew what position they were dealing with. They were actually only dealing with one position. We're able to let them know that you can just replace the alert that's in there to fire a exit. In this case, it was Tesla, exit Tesla at a certain time, and it was fine. But just bringing this up that some people are starting to build, well, this is an example of an indicator that has a feature like this.
Yeah, I think you would just incorporate that into the strategy, and then it would send an exit signal for just that particular ticker that the strategy is running on.
Yeah, so that worked for this user. It's just in the case that if someone wanted to do that for 9 different ones, well, then they would have to create the close for all 9 of the positions.
Right, but would they, what ticker would it be running on? Like they would run it on the ETF, or
well,
they would close all the positions based on a fake trend on one ticker, or how would that work?
You know what? I don't know how they were doing this.
Because like in TradingView, an indicator strategy has to be enabled on one ticker. Like you put it on a chart, right?
I could imagine this like if I was trading in crypto coins and I wanted to close all based on a trend for Bitcoin, like that might be a way of that I might do that.
So you're running it on one ticker and like you're closing other positions based on the trend of one like parent ticker. That's like your signal.
Correct.
Got it.
When I used to trade equities more and bonds more, everything to me was always tied to the dollar. So whatever the dollar did, all my other positions would change accordingly. Wasn't successful, but I was trying to send signals accordingly.
Could you have it on the Bitcoin chart and then have, I guess you could manually trigger alerts for a list of tickers, right? So you could basically trigger it off of when the fake trend is identified on Bitcoin, it could trigger 10 separate alerts for 10 different tickers. And it
I don't know that
this all those trades.
Yeah, I don't know that this indicator could do that, but you could have an indicator that will send in the signal independent of which ticker was actually assigned to. So you could have it send us one, but then TradersPost would get 20 signals to to close.
Right. Yep.
All right, next question. Hi, how does disable side swapping work? When enabled and a trend change occurs in my script, going from 1 long to 2 short, for example, it won't let all the orders go through, and I end up not being at the right contract size or still in position when I should be out. So just to provide more clarity on this, what this user was doing was that or what ultimately they wanted to do was not have the side swapping happen automatically once they were sending the signal in. They wanted to close the position for their long and then open up another position short, or even open, send 2 signals in. And they were just asking for clarity of, hey, how does side swapping work? Are there any nuances here that I should know about how this feature works? Because in certain circumstances, it was preventing the short from happening.
Well, disable side swapping means that if you're long 2 and you send a sell, it will only exit that long position. And then if you send another sell later, it would then enter a short position. If you have side swapping enabled, then it would basically exit that long. It would wait for the exit order to be fully filled, and then it would send the sell order to go short. If you disable side swapping and send two separate signals at the exact same time, one to sell the long and then one to sell short, TradersPost will receive those at the same time, but the order of operations in the broker is important. You have to exit the open position first. You have to wait for that position to be exited, and then you have to enter on the other side. So that's basically what our built-in side swapping does for you automatically. If you don't want to use the built-in side swapping functionality, then you would have to send one signal to exit the open position and then wait some static amount of time. But it's not really ideal because like you could still have race conditions where, like, what if the exit order takes 30 seconds to fill, but you only waited 10 seconds? Now you're trying to go short before you've actually exited your long position.
That's right.
In,
All right.
in practice, a market order will fill most of the time instantly, but technically it doesn't have to. It just depends on the broker and what liquidity is for that ticker, etc.
So let's daisy chain with our next question here, which is in the same sort of vein. What the person was asking is, I have an auto trading strategy from TradingView. What will happen if I am in profit on a trade, send a webhook to close at market, and then straight away open a new position at the same in the same direction? Will there be a delay of any sort with the execution? Mike, actually, this was a question towards you. And I remember you asked the person, hey, under what circumstances would you actually want to do this where you're closing a position and then open up another trade in the exact same direction? I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I didn't see if they replied or not.
They didn't reply, but I want to let you know. Sometimes I would do this before when I wanted, in certain circumstances, I wanted my win rate to increase. So I was taking a win and trade. I thought the trend was going to continue. I would take the close it and then open up in the same direction. And if I did that multiple times, I would get my win rate up. And even in the prop firm, like sometimes if I knew
consistency.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, consistency is still based on, at least in prop firm parlance, is still based on the profit you make for the day, not you make in each trade. But still, I hear your point. If you're looking to increase your win rate, then taking profits and then exiting and opening a brand new position, continuing in the same direction and taking profits again would increase the number of winners you have. So that makes sense.
So I would do this in my personal accounts, like if I needed to show. I mean, let me phrase it this way. Sometimes I would make a mistake and I entered a position I wasn't supposed to, and I started it and stopped it, or like I FOMO'd into a thing and I closed out. And in order to have to bounce off that loss, I would then close an open position that was working and then reopen up a new one. So I was like, okay, maybe Mike's very honest and very transparent. He's like, why would anyone want to do that? Me, when I want to fudge my numbers.
Well, yeah, I'm not even sure under what context you even want to fudge the numbers, though. I mean, it may be to show a higher win rate on the strategy, or what are we trying to do here?
Well, for me, it was try to fix. So, for example, someone would hire me to develop a strategy for whatever trade in NQs, or actually in this case it would be crypto, and then I'm supposed to follow certain rules in order to get a sense of what the performance is, and then I would make a mistake. And so it's just to fix my mistake, to be like, no, okay, fine, there's an extra trade here, an extra 2 trades, but now my percentage numbers are a little bit better. It never was really perfect, but like,
yeah,
sometimes I could do that multiple times for a winning trade and really get back up to to where I'm supposed to be.
Well, this, boys and girls, is why we care about the other half of mathematical expectancy, which is your profit factor. Your profit factor would go up with a trade that you held all the way through to the end, even if your win rate is roughly 50%. So the combination of your win rate and your profit factor is what we care about. But in your case, you needed the win rate to go up. So your profit factor goes down, but your win rate goes up. And the mathematical expectancy is the same.
You'd be surprised how many people are perfectly fine to have a high win rate and could care less what the profit factor is.
Yeah, that's like, it's my biggest pet peeve in the industry. Win rate is only one part of the equation.
You're never going to start a signal group that way. You're never going to start a Discord group that way. Sorry.
That's true.
So we didn't really answer that guy's question though, did we?
I
Well, for
mean,
the site swapping, you explained the clarity for the site swapping. So what would happen if it was on and what when it was off?
Right, but in his case, if he exits and then tries to enter on the same side, both of those would execute at the same time. Like one signal isn't aware of the other signal, so there's no like dependency between those two signals. So it's possible that the entry could happen first and it would add to your existing open position, and then the exit would happen and then it would exit the entire position potentially. But if you send a signal to exit the open position, waited 30 seconds, again, you still are taking the risk of the timing race condition. But if you waited 30 seconds and then immediately send another signal to enter a new position on the same side, that would work. Except for if you ran into the timing race condition that I explained earlier.
Right. I should also add here, actually, thanks for reminding me, that user went on to explain that sometimes they'll send in 2 sell signals, and they needed to make sure to have the option add to position open so that it wouldn't ignore the second one, so that it would actually add to the position that was there. I'm not exactly sure how their strategy was set up to send the signals, but in their situation, both the site swapping and the active position was like messing up how they were thinking about
Yeah, it seems weird. I mean, honestly, like unless there's some reason why they would do it, they shouldn't do that. They should send one signal with the full quantity. It's just cleaner, less room for error, less data, easier to analyze.
I just imagine sometimes people don't have access to
Maybe
like
it could be
the
why.
code of the signal, and they're just trying to cobble something together.
Yeah, probably. It's just, it's just a risk, so long term, maybe you could do that in the short term, but long term, you'd want to learn and figure out how to not do that.
Right. Fair enough. All right. And last question here. Haven't had this for a while. Do you offer a white label version of TradersPost? I remember I asked this a year ago.
I would ask how much money you have.
Yes, for $1 billion.
I think in reality,
my follow-up is, what is the least you would take for a white label version?
I don't know if there are enough customers out there that would pay for it, pay what it costs.
Yeah.
So it would probably be really expensive, but it wouldn't make sense for us to do it as a business because maybe I can get one customer paying $100,000 a year or whatever it is for the licensing costs for us to like maintain a completely like a clone infrastructure of TradersPost on separate servers with the white labeling. But I don't know if there are, one customer is nice, but like we would need a lot more of those customers. I don't know if there are. But if there were, I mean, it might be interesting for us to have that as a separate source of revenue. But I think right now we're going to stay in the software as a service lane.
I'm also very interested in the idea, or it would amuse me if someone was like, they don't want a white label version of it, but they definitely want to have an integration with one of the brokers or exchanges or whatever that they're used to. And they're like, I'm not going to wait for the company in order to get the integration. I'm going to take my money and integrate my crypto exchange. I know quite a few people in the crypto space who might just like do that. They might just say, hey, what is it to integrate the exchange that I'm
to
used
pay
to
us to integrate it?
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't really, like, we're a software as a service business, so like we build features that are applicable to like the majority of people. So it's kind of, if you start chasing deals like that, you really aren't a software as a service company anymore. You're a custom software development company.
Right.
And it's hard to scale that. The idea with a SaaS is to build something once and sell it thousands, tens of thousands of times. So by doing that, we're basically getting paid one time for something to build something that only one person might use. Maybe more than one person would use it, but it's just kind of counter to like the way our business model works today. I don't know, Mike, if you have any opinions or thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think we're in the business of serving the individual and independent investor. at the end of the day. And we would like as many of those people as possible. That is how we're going to scale our business.
Sounds good to me. All right. So keep your grubby hands off the software for TradersPost. We're here to stay.
I would like to know, like, is there a white label version? I would want to learn why. Like, what is it that they think that they need that they're not getting from the SaaS version? I would guess there's probably some kind of like fear or something about like the data being shared with other people or the reliability of it or something like that. But I don't, maybe we can like calm those worries, but I don't think
in my previous client's case, it was that it would make their value proposition for what they were selling that much more interesting. That, hey, we have, we have all these extra features, and they wouldn't need to integrate with all the same exchanges that we do. In fact, they would be doing it with 2 or 3 other exchanges that we don't integrate with. That doesn't make sense for them. So like that was the idea.
So they would buy a white label version, but then they would still only have the integrations that we have available.
They wanted to ask that TradersPost then integrates 1 or 2 of these other exchanges that would then serve their audience.
The other issue with white labeling is like, we have relationships with these brokers, and the relationship was with TradersPost. So if we offer a white label version, like immediately all those broker integrations don't work because you would have to get the relationship with them and get an OAuth app, set up with redirect URLs that are not TradersPost. Like it doesn't really work. The only way it would work is like if it were,
crypto.
It may be just crypto, like if it's only the ones that are not OAuth apps. But definitely like we would not be in the business of like custom developing broker integrations for these white label customers. Like that would be definitely not something we would do.
I just think of CCXT and how on the surface of the library for connecting different crypto exchanges.
I'm familiar with it.
And on the surface, it's like fun, and then you get into it, and you're like, "Oh my God, this is a pain."
It's terrible. Like it's the worst thing in the world. Like it looks like you have all these things supported, but I played with it. Like we tossed around the idea of using it. It does not work well at all. And like, I don't know, it's written in JavaScript, but then they transpile it into other languages. So like it's a hell to debug because it's basically generated code, and it's really difficult to like understand what the hell is going on.
You can edit it. You can like customize it to your own features. Nothing.
It's really difficult. It would not work well, and customers would not be happy if we use something like that.
That's right. All right. Well, before we move off to the exciting Project X, Mike, I'm going to love to hear your feedback on that. We do want to give you a word from our sponsors.
Ask yourself this. Are you making trading harder than it needs to be? If you're trading manually or still coding just to connect to your broker, yeah, it's time to upgrade. TradersPost lets you automate trades using signals from tools like TradingView or TrendSpider or even your own custom setup. It works with brokers like TradeStation, Tradovate, Coinbase, and a bunch more. I've been using it myself, and getting started was smooth. The platform's clean, setup's quick, and once it's running, it just works. And when you're ready to scale, adding more strategies, plugging into prop firm accounts, or juggling multiple portfolios, TradersPost handles it. It's built to grow with you. Start your free trial at TradersPost.io. Trade smarter, automate your edge.
Invoices.
Oh, that's fraud then. Yeah. Sorry. So we're
live
again,
come back in
and the conversation was to be clear, we're talking about a guy who sent fake invoices to Google and got them to pay millions of dollars for those invoices. That is fraud. That's what I was talking about. What a funny way to lead back into the show there.
All right. So let's get into it. So for just the context here, so Project X, new integration in beta available on TradersPost platform, allows for connection to a bunch of new prop firms. I'm trying to wrap my head here because I haven't done this myself, Mike. I'm trying to wrap my head around why people want to chain together multiple different prop firms that way. Like, it could just paint the picture of what it's like to use multiple prop firms or something like TradersPost.
Yeah, sure. I guess in my experience, because I've been down the prop firm path now for, I don't know, about 9 months is how long I've been doing it. No, not even that. I think I started my first prop firm account in November.
Right.
So about 6 months. And what I've learned in the process is every firm kind of has slightly different rules. Some are more favorable to, you know, allowing more risk. Some are not. Some have, you know, more tight risk controls. Some don't. Some are tougher to pass. Some have easier payouts. Some let you get to live trading faster. Others don't. It just depends. Like the domain out there is really competitive, and different firms are trying different things. There are a number of prop firms that don't use Tradovate as their back end that have integrated with Project X. And those Project X prop firms now allow us to, you know, send signals to those platforms so that you can do automated trading or multi-account trading through TradersPost. So I'm using a couple that are on that list. I wanted to try this with TopstepX as well as Funding Futures. I hadn't opened an account with them. I think I got a coupon for one of the accounts with Funding Futures, so I wanted to take advantage of that. Obviously, TopStep is a fantastic platform, and I've used it with both Tradovate now and Project X. I will say, however, the Project X integrations are fresh. They're new. They kind of built a whole environment from the ground up, and it's still a little quirky and it's a little buggy. It doesn't exactly work the way other brokerages work, but it's really close. It can still execute trades. It's just missing a number of features that we're used to seeing. And I can highlight those if you guys are interested.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
What kind of features from our connections? Let's see here. On our connections page, are there some of the features from our table that are not within Project X?
Oh, that's a good question.
It's actually stuff that, like, they're not features that we have in our feature comparison matrix.
Yeah. It's more like we can't do things like stop loss legs, take profit legs, trailing stops. But to John's point, if I'm in a trade, I can't see what my open P&L is, and I can't see how much P&L came from a signal that I sent. So, like, for example, I closed out a position earlier this afternoon on my long, and you can see that we report all of the profits through Tradovate. So I can see how much profit I made in each of these Tradovate accounts. But on the funded futures one, I can't see what my P&L was because Project X doesn't return what the average fill price was of my exit. So we have no idea what you actually got filled at, and we have no idea what your actual profit was. So in order to see some of this information, I have to log back into my funding futures account in order to determine where I'm at. The one thing we do get from the firm, of course, or from Project X, is the balance. So at least at any given point in time, we can tell you what your balance is once you've closed out your positions. So if you're in a position, then you don't know what your open P&L is, and you don't know if you're up or down. Your balance won't update until the trade has completed. So I just have to kind of like trust that the trade is going where it needs to be going, or like I have here, I can just log into my account on Funding Futures and I can see what my open P&L is in real time. We can make some changes on our side to help with your open P&L, and we're going to be working on those over the next couple of months as we add futures market data to the platform, to TradersPost. But if we can't get the average fill price back from Project X, then we can't really tell you exactly what your P&L is on each position. So we definitely have a laundry list of improvements that we'd like to see Project X make. I think, John, you had listed out the limitations on our prop firm
go to brokers and then Project X.
Yeah. So if you head to our documentation and click on Project X under brokers, there is a known limitation section here, which we'll keep up to date so you guys are aware of what works and what doesn't. But obviously, there's no market data provided for them, so we can't show you your open P&L. There's no P&L data for open positions. Average fill prices aren't available. The account balances don't update in real time. Bracket orders aren't supported, so you can't do take profit or stop loss with your entries. And then sometimes if you submit a limit order with a price greater than the current market price, it actually converts that to a market order and fills your position. But when you look back in your history, it's going to show it as a market order instead of a limit order, even though you submitted it as a limit order. That one was really confusing for us, and we've never seen that quirk with any broker we've worked with before.
And what we'd expect to see is it would still show as a limit order, and you'd see what your limit price you requested was, but then it would have another property that shows you the price that you actually got filled at, which would be better.
Yeah.
This limit price or better. but yeah, they don't do that today. I'm pretty confident. We haven't gotten confirmation from them, but just logically, like, it makes sense that they would add this stuff. I think it's just early. So as soon as we get word that they've added that kind of stuff, we'll immediately integrate it to our integration.
What I can tell you is that it is working. I do have one of the Project X brokers connected to this strategy. And I sent a trade through today and it executed exactly as you expect. And as you can see in my funding futures account, I'm up 553 in that account now. So it is working. You can send automated trades, but you would just need to send your entries and exits independently because the take profit and stop loss orders won't work. So
the only other option you have is like click the gear icon in the left.
Oh, do they have automated ATMs?
Yeah, and what happens is I can't really read it, but yeah, if you configure that, when you send an entry order to that account in Project X, it'll basically create those two orders together.
Got it. Okay. So we're probably not far off from having the ability to add the bracket orders ourselves, but this is good to know. So if I want to automatically attach a bracket order to each incoming request from TradersPost, I can do that here in my Project X dashboard.
Yep.
So then I just send the entry as a market order or a limit order. And once I'm filled, then the brackets would be automatically connected to this.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Good to know.
A couple of questions. I might be a little bit confused about this, but is there, like, what's the relationship between Project X and TopStep? Is like TopStep just like a case study for Project X, or do they have anything else in common?
I think there's some ownership there from TopStep, but I know that in general, Project X is an independent entity for the most part.
I understand.
I think it was born out of TopStep would be my kind of guess, based on the people that we've talked to, like that we know that they have like a connection to both companies. But Tradovate did really well with the prop firms. They have a lot of prop firm businesses built on top of their technology. And I think they're kind of like one of the main or one of the only kind of businesses that offers that as like a infrastructure rails to like become a prop firm. And I think TopStep probably saw that, and then that's why Project X was born. And now Tradovate has a big competitor in the space.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Now, the last question here, thinking about the future, the website for Project X states that they're open to custom features. They're open to developing this, that they really want to work on this. Has that been your experience with them? Do you expect that this is a tool that'll have a growing rich feature set in the future, or is it like whatever it is?
They added one thing that I requested already. When you fetch the broker accounts that are available once you connect Project X, there was no flag or property on the broker account that told you if it was simulated or live, paper or live. And our infrastructure is segregated by paper and live. So like not being able to know if this is a live or a paper account was an issue for us. So they added a property named simulated. And if it's true, it's paper. And if it's false, it's live money.
Okay, so take note, IBKR. This is how you deal with developers who are trying to integrate with your system. We want to send you business. We want you to be popular, but you got to come at it Project X style.
I think IBKR is just handicapped, man. I think that I think it's not that they don't want to. I think that their infrastructure and their software is so dated and so poorly built that it's really difficult for them to make changes. So I don't think it's a lack of desire. I think they would if they could, but I think that they have a lot of technical debt. That's what I think is going on.
Yeah,
understood.
One other thing that I think may be a surprise to some people is that in order to use Project X, you do have to sign up and subscribe to their platform, which is $29 a month. I believe there are some coupons circulating out there to get a discount on that monthly API access. But that is a requirement, is you do have to have an active subscription in order to link your Project X brokers, or excuse me, prop firms to their system. I don't know if you want to share my screen again here. Oh, you have it. I do have TopstepX and Funding Futures connected. I linked them from the respective Project X logins for each of those prop firms, and I have to manage my $29 a month subscription in order to keep using this. That question did come up in support a couple of times. So the answer is yes, you do need to purchase a subscription here. And we'll work with the Project X team to see if we can get a TradersPost coupon for this as well.
Ooh, that'd be excellent. Excellent. All right. Well, that's fun. Very exciting. Just the explosion of interest with this and the growth of the prop firm industry has been astounding to me. I already thought that it was going to grow, but I mean, people are just absolutely loving it, and the ability now to scale out to multiple different accounts. I mean, I could hardly wrap my head around it. It feels just as crazy to me as like agents in AI. It's like, okay, where does this go? Where does this lead? And then there's paper and there's live and all that. The interviews you did recently, Mike, the last 3, I mean, every one of them were a banger. Farming Futures, Rebecca Trades, and Tyler Goodell. You guys got to go check that out on TradingBot Sessions on our YouTube channel. They're absolutely fantastic. I mean, I'm forced to watch all these videos, and I loved it. I've watched it multiple times. I really enjoyed it. So go take a look at that. Mike's doing a great job. And now, obviously, I feel jealous because Mike is joining the prop firm crew, and I'm sure he's going to make gangbusters dollars doing it, and I'm not going to feel good at all. But that'll be a badge of honor, Mike. You want me to be upset because it means that you are succeeding. All right, guys.
I don't like being in that position. We're gonna have to change that.
To be envied? Well, stop making money then. So I don't know what to tell you. Either start losing or whatever.
Dang it.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching Office Hours. We'll be back next Tuesday, 3 o'clock with more of your questions, feedback, and feature requests. So if you have anything, please be sure to post them on our YouTube comments, tag us on X, go to our Discord, or send us a support message. We want to make TradersPost the best automated trading platform in the universe. And for that, we need your help. We need your feedback. We need your questions. Thank you so much. We'll be here on Thursday for Blueprint and on Friday for After Hours. But until then, we wish you, as always, happy trading.
Cheers, everyone.
See you guys.